You remember the pillow guy? The one who spoke at the White House. Back during the pandemic, when we were all shut down and President Trump was having a lot of the businessmen from the various companies in the United States come in and speak and say what they were doing to help with all of the quarantine and the pandemic and all of that to deal with it in the American system. There was a man who sells pillows. His name is Mike Lindell. He was converting his factory over to materials that would help the frontline people who were fighting the COVID-19 virus. And he had a minute to speak in the Rose Garden of the White House. And he talked about what his company, a pillow company, was doing. My Pillows is what he sells, and I actually have one of them. After he gave his talk about the pillow, about his company, he then had something else to say. And he was very appreciative of the president and his efforts. But then he made a comment as he spoke to the audience and to America in this one little soundbite that he had. He said, we should be, while we're shut down and in our homes, we should be spending time with our families and we should be reading our Bibles. And that kind of electrified everybody. Here in the White House, in the Rose Garden, the press, the national media, people were shocked in one sense. The Bible was being invoked at the White House. Well, he sat down and everybody was a little bit uncomfortable in one sense. The president thanked him. They went on with the business. But that's been on YouTube and created a bit of a talk for a while, but interesting. We should be reading our Bibles at a time of crisis. I think he's right. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14. God says this through Solomon, through a time of dedication at the temple, if my people, and it was in the context of a time of crisis, who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. It's a promise from God, spoken through Solomon during this time of dedication of the temple, at a time when there may be a need and when people would turn to God. And so here's a man who manufactures and sells pillows in the American capitalist system. With his moment and his time in the national spotlight, he said we should be reading our Bibles and turning to God. What if he's right? That's BT Daily. Join us next time.